with climate change and society change, what has really been, your confidence meter to stand up for what you believe in? Because a lot of people just go with the quid pro quo, with the status quo, and they don't have, they just don't have what I call the cojones to stand up and say, you know what, I'm going to change the world. And that's what you're doing. You're going to change the world. You may save the world. What gives you that right, that confidence to be able to have that type of mission?
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. I mean, this all came from just kind of thinking about the problems that we face in society, and I realized that almost always the conclusion I always came to was like, all right, we need to change like economic incentives because our society is run by the chasing of monetary gain. So if we link economic incentives to outcomes that are like directly beneficial to the world, to communities, to the planet, then maybe we'll have like big time change from the ground up. So that's kind of how the idea came about. And then I also was thinking about, okay, well, climate change and climate anxiety. And it kind of came up as like, what if we created Pokemon Go for climate change? So that's what we've started to kind of create, Pokemon Go. People got out on their phones. They were like these virtual characters all around. They caught them. And we're like, okay, well, what if people got out on their phones? They snapped pictures of litter and they shared it with us, and we could pay them with like a crypto token that could be exchanged for USD. But to answer your question more directly, Dave, yeah, for us, it's a no pressure thing. We very much don't treat this like a traditional business. Like this is a project from the heart. Like if we fail, then like great, we picked up 40,000 pieces of litter so far. Like there's no such thing as failure.
Right.
We'll try our best. And I think raising money from the community is important because then we're not beholden to like venture capital firms and like people imposing things on us. Like everything comes from the community.
Do you get kickback from people that think you're too ambitious and say, oh, this is just stupid, why are you going after such big goals?
Yeah, I mean, like we don't we don't claim to be the ones that are gonna reverse climate change. Like we're gonna help. Like, yeah, I think you get people who, I think the questions we get are mostly around like, how are you gonna create a token that pays people to pick up litter that also is like sustainable and can maintain value? Like that's the big question we get. And the answer for us is like, well, one, speculation and marketing will like create value, but number two, we could start to create like revenue generating things. One of the things we're doing is we purchased a community farm in Nigeria, and we're going to sell crops, let's say cassava, and the revenues will go towards paying farmers, and the excess revenues will go back towards like token buybacks, which will appreciate the price of the token. We're also trying like a Web3 consulting firm that only works with like an eco lens. And then the third thing we're looking at is like using waste to build homes. So I don't know if you guys have heard of like earth ships. They're homes that are completely detached from like any infrastructure. And basically their homes, like they use solar, they use rainwater, they use waste. So yeah, there's interesting ways to monetize waste and things that are good for the planet. So we're doing that in tandem with just paying people to pick up litter.